to my podcast, Curious Business Talks. And today, for our first interview in the series, our guest is Aybüke from Turkey. And I would now ask her to introduce herself, maybe as an elevator pitch or just saying to all our listeners who she is.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Aybüke. I'm a UX UI lead at Etrexio in Turkey. So, yes, I was born in the Netherlands. I've been living here for 2 years just because I really love Istanbul. I really love living here. So, yeah, that's me. I studied communication and multimedia design in the Netherlands. I finished my school and then I moved here. Yes, I've been working at Etrexio for I think a year now, and I'm the UX lead here. So I'm enjoying it this far.
Great. I just wanted to ask you, how was the transitioning from Amsterdam to Turkey? Did you had any cultural shocks or were you prepared? How was it for you to go from there to the other side of the continent?
So of course I already knew Turkey because my parents are Turkish. So I knew what to expect, but it was still a big difference because the Netherlands is a country where there are strict rules, there are everything is so organized, but Turkey is the complete difference. It's the complete opposite. It's very chaotic, and in terms of work conditions, it's also different. And you don't know every rule as good as in the Netherlands because I grew up with the law there, etc. So it's very different, but the city compromises for it all because it's such a beautiful city, I think.
Great. Would you say Amsterdam is like in general Netherlands as a country, high context country or low context country? Example for that, if nobody knows. For example, in general, Eastern countries like Japan and China are high context where they don't say much, but you feel and see, and you have to feel and see everything around you to make an observation, and that's like high context. Where in for example, US, it's a low context. They say everything they mean, they're direct, they don't hide any emotion, they're just like straight to the point. Where do you see Turkey, for example, and Netherlands in that aspect?
Yeah, so the Netherlands, the people are really, they say what they think. They are really direct, and I love that there. So and it's completely the opposite in Turkey, I think. People don't say it directly, they say it something in that direction, but you have to understand what they're meaning.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Because I grew up in the Netherlands, I'm still that direct. So people here often take that as rude. Well, I grew up like that. It's normal for me. And I do love that about the Netherlands because you're just straightforward. You just say what you're thinking, and it doesn't put any awkward situations for the other person. And it's also like in terms of feedback, I'm really used to giving feedback and receiving feedback. At the office I'm working now, they're also aware of the importance of that. So I like that, but in other offices there's really big competition and
games.
Yeah, exactly like that. So that's a big difference.
Okay, great. So the culture, in terms of culture in general and office culture, is also different.
Yes.
Okay, and you prefer the direct, open, and that's why you work with Etrexio, right?
Yes, exactly. I really like that about this place. So we are a small team, but everybody can just go up to anyone and ask their questions and help them, etc.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Great. So that would be also one of the questions that I had in mind. Like, what made you say, I want to work with these people, I want to be part of that team? Obviously, the open-mindedness and the communication, the level of communication is also important part of the team. What else would you say was like, okay, I'm gonna work with them?
So they have a lot of different projects, and as a beginning designer, it can be hard to work at a company which has short-term projects. Usually a UX project can take up to a year, but that's not the case here. So I've been working here for 1 year, but I've worked on I think, more than 6 or 7 projects, which I really like. It broadens my horizon and I learn a lot from that.
Yep.
And in terms of working conditions, like we have a menstrual leave and one day off a month. Yes, so that's really nice.
Wow.
There are
Okay,
almost no
okay.
companies that offer that. So I really like that. And the overall working environment, like everybody is so friendly to each other. And for me, it's really, that's more important than the money I gain from any company. So yeah, the environment was the thing that mostly made me work here. So they also care about the work you're doing, not about the time that you're spending here. So they're flexible in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the major things I would say.
Amazing. That I didn't know, and that's a great advantage. And as you said, environment, and immediately in my mind I saw that there were lots of quotes and visual, how to say, prompts online. But when you have a flower and the environment is not good, the flower is dying. When you have good surroundings and good support, the flower is blooming same way. And if the environment is good, you will prosper, they will prosper, so everything works out in the end.
Exactly.
That's great. That's amazing. So for everybody who is just starting their career and maybe they're considering some design field, maybe UX, UI, can you tell us a little bit about your career path and how was it? Was it straightforward? Was it like a little bit confusing? Maybe you changed position, or how was it for you?
Yes, of course. So I obviously went to school for design, but in the beginning I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I started the school without really knowing what I was gonna do, but it ended up being perfect for me. So I would recommend my studies, so communication and multimedia design. But obviously there are a lot of people who are in the field of UX design without the school. So I would recommend the school because you're doing a lot of projects, you're getting lessons from experts. And I think the projects are really standing out because you do a design project from A to Z, from the problem statement to the prototype, and that's not something that you can always do at the work field. So going to the school was great for me. It was a really good learning experience. But for those who don't go to the school, I would say there are a lot of online schools like Udemy, for example, and also a lot of free courses on YouTube. So get started with Figma courses. There are lots of them. And there are also online resources like Dribble, Behance, where you can get inspiration. But make sure that you read case studies, not just pretty interfaces, because that's not the core of UX. It's the usability part. Yeah, so these are the things that come to my mind. I don't know if you want to add something.
Have you ever had a mentor, maybe in school or after school?
Not after school, but during school, I had some teachers where I would go and get advice from, and those were really helpful. So I don't know how it is when you don't go to the schools. I think you can get mentors online. But they really give you a good ground on how you can do some things career-wise.
Yeah, that's great. For those of you who don't know, if you want to have a mentor or just at 1 session, 2 sessions to see how you can plan your future professional path, you can just go to adplist.org and find a mentor that is in your time zone, ask all the questions that you have in mind, and be specific. Don't be just there for the chats and the vibes. Be specific, strategic, and ask important questions that are valid in the area. Okay, as a lead designer in Etrexio, what would you say is your go-to place to stay informed in terms of design and user experience?
So yes, it's really important as designers to keep up to date. There are constantly new trends or constantly new tools that you can use. And it's also important for me as a UX lead to make sure that my team is also up to date on the topics. So I would say I really browse on LinkedIn and Instagram a lot. So Instagram may seem like it's not a good source, but when you know how to search, it can be a really good source. And I mentioned Behance and Dribble earlier.
Yep.
So those three platforms, Behance, Instagram, and Dribble, are great when you search for visuals. But I think it's important to really ask yourself the questions about why is this a good design? Is it a good design actually? Because they use flashing colors and modern trends, but they cannot also be always be user friendly. So you have to still be critical when you look for inspiration there. But I would say LinkedIn, when you follow fellow designers, they always give like a description when they post something and an explanation about why this is a good design or why you should avoid these trends. So it's great to keep up with on LinkedIn. And also Medium is a great source, Medium and Muslim, following designers there. They post really great articles about design tools and design research, which research is really important. Research, I want to say this so loud, research is really important. Make sure that you do research before you start a design, because the research is the connection between the user and the design you made. So you have to understand their problems, not only of the users, but also the stakeholders, to make your design as good as possible. So on Medium, you can find really good articles about why some tools are great, why some tools should not be used as much. So yeah, these are the things that I would recommend to keep up to date as a designer.
Great. Very good mention there, the user research being the link between the stakeholders and the users. If we have to explain it visually, probably it would be that thread that makes the whole sweater together, you know, all the parts that it links together. Do you have maybe any book that you're currently reading or you have read that it's like a good design read, or maybe a TV series or a movie related to design?
So I think Don't Make Me Think, every designer knows this book, and I think every designer should know this book. I would really recommend. And a book that we talked about you last time, which is 100 Things Every Designer Should Know. Those two books really give good examples and are such a good read for designers, because it really broadens your horizon. It really makes you realize some things about a design, and it sometimes can give you some outdated examples. For example, Don't Make Me Think is quite old. I think it has a revisioned version, but it's still, the examples are quite old, so you can search up the UI patterns that are mentioned in the book online to see some newer versions, but it has great examples of some basic principles that you should know.
Have you seen the series Abstract from Netflix?
Yes,
you have?
Okay. It has one episode about UX design, as I can remember.
Yes, it was like the whole idea was to be design related, but there was one for UX as well. There was also about costume design, about architecture as well. There were like so many interesting episodes. Like the whole season was amazing. So I highly recommend it to everybody who is interested in design to not look only in UX and UI, but design in general can give you lots of inspiration and insights.
Exactly. Especially I like the I believe there was an episode about fonts. So I really love that one. And yes, knowing about fonts and about the logic behind them sorry, is also important for designers, I think.
So maybe you have also watched Helvetica, the movie?
No, I didn't.
No? Okay. No. It is interesting. It's not that inspirational, but it's just interesting to see how the font was created, how spread and popular it is, and in general. while I was watching it, I was like in that phase, oh my god, I want to create my font. But then when I saw how much work it takes, and I'm like,
That's so true. I love that font, by the way, but I didn't watch the movie.
highly recommend to check it out.
All right.
So for everybody who doesn't know how we know each other, I will give my story, my side of the story, then Aybuke will continue. One day I was just browsing on LinkedIn and I get a message, hey, I'm doing a user research, would you like to be part of my study? I have a few questions on productivity and I think you're a great candidate for that. I'm like, yeah, of course, as long as it's like something helpful, I'm always in. And long story short, we had this conversation, the interview. There was, of course, again, technical difficulties. We couldn't record the interview properly, but then we did the recording somehow and everything worked out. So,
By the way, we
yeah.
always have this issue with Nikoleta whenever we try to do something. Some technical difficulties always.
Like we say in Bulgarian, samo tvade. Let it be just that, the technical difficulties. Everything else is so smooth that I don't even mind it anymore.
Exactly. So,
And
okay, my side of the story.
mhm,
So I work at Etrexio, as I mentioned, and I was always like, we should do more research, blah, blah, blah. So they gave me a project which was a Trackly, which was about habits of users and about how we can improve them, blah, blah, blah. So we started with the UX research, and I was like, okay, I did some desk research, I did some questionnaires, and let me do some interviews. So I
mhm.
hopped on LinkedIn, which was the easiest tool for me, and I found Nikoleta, and we connected there. We did some interviews, and we always like kept in touch because the energy that it really matches between us, and I really like talking to
Punk.
her. Yeah, so that's how we met, and that's how we keep on keep our
Making
friendship
content.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask what happened with the app. Do you have any updates on it? Or if not, what is new? What are you creating at the moment?
So the app right now is fully designed. It's an app that also helps you get out of your comfort zone. So it will give you some basic tasks, but also new tasks to get out of that comfort zone every day. And you swipe up to mark it as complete, etc. So right now it's on hold because we have a lot of projects coming in and going out at Etrexio. Right now I have a project for Germany. I can't really tell a lot because it's still in design, but it's for a phone repair company, an online tool which will help the users get to the closest shop in the quickest time. So yeah, it's a challenging project. It's a web project, so web is always a little bit harder because it's also a little bit dashboard type. So
Yep.
that's a challenge, but we like a challenge.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm sure it will work out fine. And as you said, when people say, that's easier because it's smaller, when they think about mobile first, or when they say, this is desktop or web, it just will be fine. And I'm like, to make something small and simple, you have to narrow down everything and make it work. Also, the same goes for to use the whole real estate of the dashboard, the web. You also have to put a lot of thought and planning, and to be basically an architecture and to know where goes where, what goes where. But also, now that you mentioned in German, I wanted to ask you. Do you have difficulties during like your day-to-day life switching up between languages? So I don't know even how many languages do you speak, but I think I saw one video where you switch between 3, and I'm like, what?
Yes, so I speak 3 languages, Turkish, English, and Dutch, and it's really hard for me to switch. I sometimes, when I talk Turkish, I use Dutch words, I use English words, and I use the grammar of Dutch with English, so the whole sentence is getting switched up. Yeah, but I've been living here for 2 years, so I've developed myself really good. But like when I first came, I was like, oh, I have to talk business Turkish, which was
Yep.
completely new for me,
Mm-hmm.
which was really hard. It was really hard, but because like I mentioned before, the environment here is so good, so we can laugh about it, and they can always learn me how to say it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was difficult for me, even though we spoke always Turkish at home back in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Turkish in how we talk with family and friends, but not
Yeah.
in companies.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but I think I'm used to it now, even though sometimes I can skip some words.
Yes, yes, I completely understand. Sometimes you cannot remember the meaning of the word in English, nor in Dutch, not in Turkish, just like blank.
Yes, I have that a lot.
So, Aybuke, I just wanted to ask you about one project of yours during your studies called Bottle Up. I did the research and I asked you, you were surprised last time, but we had to record the video. So, can you tell me a little bit about that project and how important is environment to you?
So the project was, yes, the first time you found out, I was really shocked because I completely forgot about it myself. But the project was a project we did for school, and it was about sustainability, about how we could make the students use reusable water bottles more.
Mhm.
So we added some gamification and to the filling points where you could fill the water bottles, and you could gain points and you can earn some things. So it was quite a fun project because I love sustainability. I think it's really important because the earth is already under so much pressure. We shouldn't tire it out even more. And it was a project where we could add gamification. So in a day-to-day job, you don't get that opportunity a lot. So me and the team that we were working with, we were like, okay, let's add some gamification. We can make it more fun for the users also, and it will be something new for us.
Mhm.
So that was the project, and I don't remember if I got a good grade, but I passed.
I'm sure you did, and you had a great time doing it. I also wanted to ask you, do you have maybe in the future a plan to create something that has like some social impact, maybe a topic that is like important to you?
I think what I like about being a designer is every project you do, as long as it gets online, has some impact, which I
Absolutely.
really like. There are not specific projects that I really want to do. I would want to be the product designer of my own product one day, and maybe it can be related to charity. That's something I really care about, and I think it's important to let everybody know the importance of.
Mhm.
So it can be a project like that, but I don't have anything on my list yet.
Okay, okay, that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
So for everybody else who are working at the moment and trying to make a living, would you share maybe a story of yours with a challenging situation that you learned from? And for the end of the podcast, maybe some advice.
When I first started working here, it was my first job after college. So um, it was the first time I was working with developers, which was completely new to me. At school, we only made projects, and the final thing you would give was a prototype. So designing for development and making a design that is ready for development is completely something else. So you have to name everything correctly, you have to use components correctly, you have to make every state, every empty state, every error state, every open state, every closed state. So it was really hard for me in the beginning. But I think even though you're not working with developers, I think it's important to learn how to make a project ready for development, because it also taught me a lot about how to make a project complete from everything. So yeah, I think that's important. And some advice I can give on that is, when you're using Figma, I assume a lot of designers use Figma, is use styles, you use components, name every page correctly, and I think making a checklist about when you think you are ready for yeah, when you think you're finished your project, to check off everything, like yeah, I think that's really important, to work organized, which I was really struggling with in the beginning. Those are some things that are important. Yeah, I think that's it for me. And some other advice is always keep seeking feedback from fellow designers, from your job, your boss. It can be anyone. I think sometimes when you're stuck designing by yourself, you don't understand what you're doing wrong, because you don't have anybody saying it to you. So I think receiving feedback can be important, and I think you can easily get on LinkedIn, ask somebody that you don't know. I think everybody is willing to give some feedback and help each other grow. And I think that's so beautiful about the UX community. There are a lot of groups where you can learn some things and ask for advice. So a lot of people post some designs and ask for feedback, and you see thousands of comments, and I love that. And I think don't be scared to get out of that comfort zone. And when I'm saying that, I think that's another thing I can give designers: get out of your comfort zone, start doing new things. Doing research can be hard for a lot of designers because you have to talk to people and know how to ask questions. But I think when you start, it's not that hard.
Absolutely.
So yeah, those are the things. I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, everything seems overwhelming for sure when you start, and in the beginning was the same for me. When I start searching some information related to UX, you pull one thing and there's like hundreds more following, and I'm like, oh my god, can I really do this? There are so much things that I have to cover. But as you said, my go-to things to do when I'm starting a project is the checklist. I also documentation of your process, guys. Please document your process. Make screenshots, film yourself doing the projects, see what was the before and after, show the people your work, what was the behind the scenes, show some kind of impact, and try to make a story out of every project that you do, because that's very important. Learn how to write, learn how to talk to people, learn how to ask questions. Of course, you can also learn so many other things, but I think getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things, asking for help is also on my top list. Like you said, connect with other designers and colleagues. There's a wonderful group on Facebook called Women in UX who are always there to help you, and they always can give you some feedback and advice, not only UX related but business related, when you have to talk to people who have money or people who make the decisions in some areas.
That's so interesting, because I know that's a really hard part for some people, for the money that you earned.
To position yourself and to negotiate, and don't back down on your price, and be confident in what you do and how you present your work. So yeah, I think those were plenty of advices, and I think I will make a whole list and probably put it in the description.
Nice.
Thank you, Aybuke, so much for coming back again on the interview. I would like everybody to follow her. I'm gonna leave her details in the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video with someone who is interested in the topic, and stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you. Bye bye.